Imagine a box. A perfect box with four corners that has literally no other purpose but to be a box. Now, try and give me a review of that box. Except, I have a very specific way I want you to review it. I want you to tell me how good this box is at being a circle. This small exercise might not make sense for some of you, and others may have gotten it immediately, but we'll get back to it later. Today, I want to talk a bit about something that's been on my mind heavily for a long time, but has been quite exacerbated by people's reactions to The Last Jedi, The Force Awakens before it, and now Solo, a Star Wars solo. I want to talk about film criticism, or rather, what makes it become toxic. To do that, I'll essentially be first defining exactly what film criticism is, then showing some examples of what it should look like, and then I want to finish by talking about exactly what it isn't. So, what is film criticism? Wikipedia, the greatest scholar on earth, defines it as the analysis and evaluation of film, which sounds quite obvious, but there's a lot to that simple statement. To analyze something is to break it down, to split it up into different components and to ask, what are these? You're not quite making claims per se, you're just pulling it apart and making sure you understand each different section of it. Say you made up a basic schematic. The idea hasn't been executed yet, you just know what it's made up of. And I think when it comes to analysing a film, you can look at the themes of it, you can look at the history of it, you can look at it whatever it was trying to respond to maybe, you can look at each element that makes it up, and this will give you a great depth on it. But when it comes to film, I think the key question that needs to be ultimately considered with analysis is, what is this film trying to do? Let's look at that with an example. Say, Spider-Man 2. Over a decade old, Sam Raimi's follow-up to Spider-Man has been lauded as one of the greatest superhero films to date, and is held onto fondly by the general viewing audience. And I don't think that is an accident. However, I don't mean to move into the realm of opinion here. That comes later. I just want to answer the question, what is this film trying to do? The main theme of the film is perfectly summarized by this line from Peter.
It was my dream.
Sometimes, to do what's right, we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most, even our dreams.
We see right here the two big ideas behind the film, so suddenly we have an inclination to go back and see whether these films fulfilled this promise, whether they did what they were trying to do. The film doesn't just state the theme though, it shows it. His wants, Mary Jane, success, happiness simply do not outweigh the responsibility he must carry as Spider-Man, that he has to have.
Strong focus on what I want.
It's a theme most people, especially young adults, can relate to, needing to have a focus in their life on the more meaningful things. Now, maybe I'm getting a bit metaphysical here, or maybe you don't quite relate to these themes as strongly, but I think it'd be naive to state that they're not here. And we see from this basic surface level examination that there's so much more to a lot of these films, and maybe you can understand my frustration when I ask someone what they thought of a film, maybe one I loved, and they just say, it was dumb, or it was bad. Okay, so it's like, do I have to do an in-depth analysis of every film? Well, no, but you do have to know what you're watching. Remember that illustration earlier with the box? It's the same with movies. If you thought a film was one thing, but it was actually something entirely different, that will absolutely shift your perspective on it. Take Dunkirk. One of the big criticisms is that there was no, quote, character development. And what that traditionally looks like is a moment where the characters sit on the beach and talk about their, quote, girl back home. But was the film trying to do that? No. The great man Christopher Nolan himself stated as much with,
I didn't want the theatrics of people telling the audience why you should care about them. I wanted to care about them just because of the physical situation that they were in. And in that way build up a subjective experience of the events at Dunkirk that would hopefully have a cumulative quality, emotional quality through the course of the film. It would pay off at the end of the film without ever being overly theatrical or sentimentalizing, these real life events.
Dunkirk isn't trying to be a story about the connection between soldiers and about their families back home and everything. It's trying to capture the experience of these moments through the people's actions and what they're trying to do. Once again, we see there's more to it when we strip the film back, when we maybe look at some of the bits and pieces that make it up and ask the question, what is this film trying to do? We start to gain a higher appreciation for it. And once we've done that, we go back to the definition of film criticism and see the word evaluate. And hopefully, instead of making dead claims, we can say stuff more along the lines of, I see what it was trying to do. It didn't really land for me because of this or that or this. But what I'm ultimately trying to say here is we can talk and articulate about it much more clearly. I could go on taking very surface level looks at other great films. Heck, I've written whole 2 pages on The Last Jedi just to collate some of my thoughts. But I think ultimately, people are becoming inarticulate, and it's hurting film discussion. Look at some of these reactions to Solo. Half these people probably haven't even seen the film yet, but they're predisposed to hate it. And look, I know there's trailers and whatnot that work to set your tone, but I think we have to remember with trailers that not only isn't it the whole film, but it's made by different people than the storytellers. So to hate a film off the trailer is absurd. I know that ultimately film reaction is subjective and not objective, but if you're going to give a subjective opinion, then make it subjective! There is literally nothing subjective about this film sucked. If you want to talk about the thing, at least understand it. Don't review the box as a circle. And if you didn't like a film, just say you didn't like it. But don't make the claim that it's just bad, because that's absurd and is nothing but damaging to discussion in every aspect. You might have noticed the trick here. I have no idea why film criticism can turn toxic. I think it might have something to do with the fundamental idea of I'm right, you're wrong, but I have genuinely no idea why people are threatening to kill you because you say you enjoyed a movie or you didn't enjoy a movie. That is too far. The real purpose of this video is to encourage anyone watching to articulate, to put more than 2 seconds into something before you speak about it publicly. And if you didn't like something, then just say that you didn't personally like it. If you get asked for a follow-up reasoning behind this, it's okay to just say you're not sure why. You can be honest, but please, for the love of all things that are holy, don't just say it's bad. Don't say someone else is bad for liking it, and don't say you're going to kill someone over it. Ultimately, none of it really matters, and we're all going to die anyway. Thank you for watching, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of this kind of video and if you'd like me to do more. If you absolutely despised it, let me know that too and I won't do another one. However, next week I'd really like to have a look at prequels and what makes them good. So yes, that will include a look at Solo and a couple of other ones. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Watch Better Call Saul. Thanks, guys. Jay Grizzle, out.